And we are live. This will be another edition of DT Live. I actually started the stream about 2 minutes early than scheduled. Another edition of DT Live. Okay. Alright. Yeah, some of you are already hanging out in the chat. Give me a yay or nay as far as the sound. Is the audio fine? Huh. Yeah, Frost was in the chat earlier. Lav says, "Hey DT, where can we contact you directly?" Well, you can always contact me on YouTube. If you want to do like a private message, if you're on Patreon, you can always message me at patreon.com/DistroTube. If you guys want to email me, I don't mind you guys emailing me. I do have an email account just for the channel. You can email me at derek@distrotube.com. Derek, D-E-R-E-K. D-E-R-E-K at distrotube.com. Let's see. Schweine Killer. Hope I pronounced that right. He says, "Greetings from Germany." Very cool. Marcus, and we are live. Yep. Sound is yay. Yeah, that's a first in a while. Sound is good. A silent reboot. Yeah, sounds fine. Marcus, audio's fine. Sib Sense Green says yay. And Andrew, sound is good. Peter, yay. Amiga God, and audio is fine. Derek says yay. Another Derek. Must be a cool guy. Alright. Arch Linux, greetings from Germany again. Good to see you. Joel is in the house. Tagferin is here. And Whiskey Echo Bravo. Greetings from Poland. Awesome. Got a very varied group here. Very diverse. Gibran says, "Hey DT, finally i3. Yeah, you guys have been waiting for this one for a while, and I didn't do really any research at all on i3. So I'm coming at this kind of as a brand new user. Don't know really anything about i3. I've reviewed a couple of distros on the channel that use the i3 window manager before. I did Manjaro i3, and I also did Arco Linux, which one of the window managers installed by default is i3. But I really didn't do much in i3 on either of those distros. You know, opened a couple of terminals, closed a few terminals. Didn't even look at the config files for those things. So today I'm going to try to go into a little more in-depth look at it, but again, more as a brand new user to i3, because I think that would be more helpful to you guys rather than some i3 master that's been living in it for 5 years showing you all about i3. Let's see, somebody that really has never used i3. Let's see how easy it is to get into and play with out of the box. Today, by the way, we're looking at i3 gaps. So I'm using Manjaro's i3 edition. Manjaro's i3 edition, they install i3 gaps. So that will be the window manager we're looking at. Let me share the chat here. I'm actually reading some of the chat. Yeah, the whole streaming is good. Yeah, we've had a couple of really just terrible streams in the last week where I was fighting some serious audio problems. Pulse Audio just wrecked my system. There was an update to Pulse Audio a few days ago, and I have just been fighting it ever since. The sound settings in OBS were wrecked. The sound settings in Zoom, in Discord, pretty much everything was not right. So, Tom says, "Hey Derek, and again from Germany." A lot of Germans here. Marcus is from Germany. Schweinkiller. Let's see. Yeah, Derek. Yes, Derek, I'm a cool guy too. Yep, very cool. Yeah, Tom says, "You have a quite huge fan base from Germany." Yeah, a lot of Germans. Yeah, Der Merlin is also from Germany. Isn't i3 gaps a fork from i3? Yeah, I'll have to Google it to actually see if it's a fork from the i3 project or if it's something that the i3 guys also work on. I'm not sure. To be honest, if I was running i3, I probably would just install the standard i3 window manager, the i3 gaps, which I'm assuming puts a lot of gaps around the window, makes it a little more attractive, but that's not usually what I want out of a tiling window manager, because I think having gaps between your windows and a tiler is wasted space for the most part. Yes. CH2 is asking, what is i3? i3 is a tiling window manager. So if you haven't seen the previous episodes of the Obscure Window Manager project, I set out to review 12 minimal, obscure if you will, window managers in Linux. So let me go ahead and pull up the list of things I've already reviewed. I've got the VM that I'm using today for this already loaded up. And the 12 window managers I set out to review initially were FVWM, IceWM, JWM, OpenBox, PECWM, Qtile, TWM, Xmonad, Awesome, Fluxbox, Herbstluft.wm, and i3. I have already taken a look at FVWM, JWM, OpenBox, PECWM, Qtile, TWM, Xmonad, Awesome, Fluxbox, and Herbstluft. I have not taken a look at i3, which we're taking a look at today, and the last one in the list I'll take a look at will be Ice Window Manager. I hope that kind of answered your question, CH2. If you want to know more about what exactly a window manager is basically the frame around your windows on your desktop. That is your window manager. It controls the windows, how they sit on the desktop. If you want to know even more about it, maybe do a Google search or pull up something like the Arch Wiki or the Gentoo Wiki and look up window manager. Donkey is in the house. Xander says, yeah, it's a window manager. i3 is a tiling window manager. A lot of people answering the i3 question. Neil is from Luxembourg. Yeah, Linux Tutorials says, thumbs up, Derek. I worked 20 years with Linux, but only after I've watched your videos on i3 moved to it. Well, that's interesting you tried i3 because of my videos, because I haven't done much with i3. Again, I reviewed a couple of distros that had i3 on them, but I myself really didn't do much with i3. But I'm glad it inspired you to try it out. You guys know that a lot of my early videos focused heavily on promoting OpenBox, which a lot of you guys have told me you've switched to. Of course, these last couple of months I've done a lot with Qtile, a little bit with Xmonad, and some of you guys have tried those out. So I'm really glad some of you guys are trying out these, window managers maybe that you would have never taken a look at before. Hopefully I've showed you that these window managers are not that scary. They're not that hard to get set up. Well, Xmonad might be a little difficult, but most of these 12 window managers I've taken a look at, not that hard to get into. Alright, let's see. I'm missing some of the chat here. Xander's speaking a little German. Don't know German. Let's see, what distro are you using on the laptop behind you? That's Antergos OpenBox. I had to install that for a challenge I was doing with the Big Daddy Linux guys. We all hopped to Antergos last week, and then we did a review on our Antergos installs, actually last night on the Big Daddy podcast. So, yeah, Amiga says, Pulse audio problems yesterday before I started streaming. Yeah, it really is so frustrating. The whole Pulse audio thing is by far the most frustrating thing in Linux for me. I mean, we've got to get this thing fixed. The audio in Linux sucks. I mean, it does. It's one of the things that really holds us back, I think. Yeah, you have at least one person watching from Portugal. Very cool. That's Paulo Batista. All right. Too many desktop environments. Yeah, there's a ton of desktop environments. And when you get into window managers, I mean, there's like 100 window managers you could choose from. Yeah, the wasted space argument doesn't make much sense unless you're using a very small resolution monitor. Well, that's true. Let's see. i3 is tiling and floating, with also resizable layouts. Yeah, we're going to take a look at it. I'm going to, see what it's all about. I might even read up a little bit while I do this stream. And, of course, you guys that use it, on a regular basis can help me out along the way. Like I said, I'm going to come at this kind of as a new user. Of course, I'm very familiar with using tiling window managers. I just haven't used i3. I have lived in Xmonad in the past. I've lived in Awesome Window Manager in the past. And you guys know here recently I've been living in Qtile. So I'm very comfortable with tiling window managers, how they work generally. And tiling window managers, for the most part, all kind of function in the same way. The big differences between them is how they tend to tile windows as far as how they lay out the windows when you tile them. The other big difference is also how they handle multi-monitor situations. But for the most part, they function pretty much the same. Yeah, two big unsolved problems with i3. Virtual guest machines show in a very tiny window, and KeyPass cannot auto-type username and password. Okay, well that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, undefined. I haven't updated to the latest Pulse Audio, so I guess I'll just stay with the current version. Yeah, if you don't need it, it might be good just to stick with what's working. Yeah, more than audio, it annoys me. There is now implementation for a wireless display like Intel. Yep. Tom. Okay, so I'm gonna probably ignore some of the chat for a bit. I'm gonna mark my spot. I'll try to come back to it, but you know, there's gonna be a ton of chat, and I'm going to dive into i3 for a little bit. So I'm gonna switch over to, yeah, does Manjaro use default i3 or i3 gaps? It's using i3 gaps. So this will not be like a standard install where if you're running something like Ubuntu, for example, and you install i3 on it, where it's, you know, just a vanilla i3 with a very basic config. This one has been configured a little bit, but it hasn't been hacked on that much. I have looked at it for a few minutes before the stream, so right, I'm going to switch over to the VM here. Alright, so the last VM, of course, we used, or the last tiling window manager we looked at was Herbstluft. So today we're logging into i3. Let's check it out. Let me enter my super secure password. Okay, now this is interesting. I log into i3 and I get nothing. Why is it a black screen? Okay, why do we have a screen lock? Okay, that is weird that when I first log in, there was a screen lock. I'm assuming that is the i3 lock program. I'm not sure why you would log in and the screen already be locked, because you had to enter a password to log in. You think, I'm not sure if that's just something the Manjaro guys did or if that's some kind of bug. Anyway, this is Manjaro's i3 edition, out of the box. Out of the box. They have a conky on the desktop, which is nice for brand new users because it will give me some key combinations. Because if you don't know some of the keyboard combinations to, you know, open and close windows and tile windows, makes things very frustrating. Looking at some of the keyboard combinations, let's get started. The mod key is set to the super key, the Windows key. Mod enter gives us a terminal. It opens a terminal. So that's pretty standard, and most tiling window managers, it's the same key combination for Awesome, Qtile, and you know, a dozen other tiling window managers. Mod and enter get you a terminal. If I keep hitting mod and enter, I keep getting more terminals. And by default, it looks like i3 gaps, at least here in Manjaro, is going to do them in these vertical columns. Probably forever. Yep. Well, we could go to infinity with these. Now to close a window, because I've got way too many of these on the screen now, would be mod key, shift, Q. And it will close the window with focus. If I just keep hitting it, I will end up back with no windows open. So mod key, enter. Mod key, enter. Mod shift Q. Mod shift Q. That's just basic, you know, opening a terminal and closing whatever window has focus. To launch programs, D menu is installed by default on Manjaro's i3 edition, and they have that key binded to mod key D. That gets me D menu. You see the program here at the top of the screen. I just start typing something. Say I want to open a terminal. I just start typing terminal, hit enter. It's going to ask me some more information. Anyway, and that opened probably Xterm, which is looking kind of hideous there. The default terminal, by the way, is Termite. at least in this VM. I've used Termite as my default terminal in all the other window managers I've looked at, so Termite's going to be my default terminal here in i3 as well. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is figure out what all the key bindings are and what they do. I don't know what they do. Like I said, I'm coming at this as a new user, so the best way to do this is to find our i3 config. So I'm going to open up a text editor. I know I have Genie installed on here, so I'm going to do D menu, super D, to get the D menu up. I'm going to start typing Genie to get my text editor open. And actually, I already have the config file open, but I'm going to close it. Let's search for the config file. In my home folder, there is a hidden directory called .i3. Click on that. There should be a file in there called config. Let's open that file. And this is our i3 config file. Just looking at it briefly, it looks very easy to figure out what most of this is. For example, set mod to mod 4. Mod 4 is the name of your super key, your Windows key on your computer. So we set our mod key to the super key, mod 4. If you wanted to change that, you could. You could set mod to mod 1, for example. Save, restart i3, and now instead of the super key, you would be using the alt key. I actually like using the super key as the mod key. I don't like using alt. Let's see. Configure window style, normal, pixel. Okay, it gives us some kind of layout here. New window, pixel 1. I'm not sure if I want to play around with that or not. We have some font. Our default font is Nodo Sans 10-point font. I'll leave that for now. Let's see what else we could play with. We have key bindings to start applications. For example, the mod key plus F2 executes Pale Moon, the Pale Moon browser. I think I deleted that thing off of here. I think I already installed like the main version of Firefox, and I got rid of Pale Moon, so I don't even think that would open. Let me see, mod F2. Yeah, so I got rid of Pale Moon, so I know that's not going to work. Let me alter that though. I'm going to change that to execute Firefox instead of Pale Moon. So I'm going to save this config file. I'm going to type super shift R to restart i3. So we just restarted i3. Now the super key F2. It should have executed Firefox, and it does. It just takes a second. Alright, so you see Firefox launches, and it launches, in its new column, its own separate stack here. It tiles. So, alright, mod F3, it looks like, is set to open our PCMan-FM file manager. So, see if that actually works. It does. So it opens PCMan-FM, so super shift Q to close it. And we could, if we didn't use PCMan-FM, we could set that to use Ranger, which is a terminal-based file manager. Both of them are installed on the system, so I could set that key binding to either one. Mod Shift F3 executes PCMan-FM as SU, GKSU. So that's pretty cool. Mod Shift F3. It asks for our root password. I give the root password, and it opens up PCMan-FM as root. That is very cool. Super Shift Q to quit. So, pretty standard stuff. It's so far through the config. I think I'm going to go through the entire config. But you guys that are kind of new to tiling window managers, the main things you want to set is the mod key to mod 4. If you don't like using the super key, if you'd rather use the alt key, you might change that. The other big one is your default terminal. Mod return, so super enter, is set to execute Termite. My default terminal is Termite. If you wanted to change your default terminal, you would change this to, whatever you use. Xterm, for example, or URXVT, or, I don't know, the GNOME terminal, whatever terminal you have installed. Me, though, I'm using Termite, so. Anyway, let me restart, make sure everything's working here. And I'm going to go back to the chat for a minute. A lot of chat I missed here. Alright. Let's see, if you have 2FA It's convenient, but I wouldn't recommend it anyway. That's undefined. Let's see. Silent it is and does not normally do that. Yeah. Yeah, Harish is in the chat. He says, hey DT, long time. Good to see you, Harish. Yeah, I find Conky on Manjaro i3 Edition annoying. Yeah, I would never put Conky on my desktop for a tiling window manager. The reason they do that out of the box is because, again, for the brand new user, they really need to have that information there, because if you log into i3 and don't know like the basic key combinations, like how do you exit out of i3? Well, that Conky tells you. So that's why it's there. Obviously, you can delete Conky. You can remove it from the system entirely, or just in the config file, just have Conky no longer auto start, and it's gone. But I understand why the Manjaro guys are putting it on the desktop. It makes sense why they're doing it. Yeah, still confused. What is the name of the package? i3-gaps. Sorry about that. Yeah, wow, that looks really quite nerdy. Yeah, a lot of what we do here is nerdy. That's Linux for you. So tiling window managers are designed to work in full without a mouse, right? Yeah, you don't have to use a mouse for tiler. Everything is keyboard driven for the most part. Now, some tiling window managers do have some mouse functionality, you know, like some of them, like this panel at the bottom, I don't know if using the mouse does anything. But on some tiling window manager, yeah, right click actually does do something here. But depending on the tiling window manager, some of them really don't make the mouse do anything. I mean, like the mouse really does nothing in some tiling window managers. With the exception of, in floating mode, dragging the window around and resizing it with the mouse. That works. Alright, so let's see where I'm at in the chat. Yeah, Luke Smith. Luke Smith is awesome. Yep. Yeah, if you guys like, you know, tiling window manager, terminal stuff, Luke Smith is good. Another good channel to check out for that kind of stuff is Gotbletu, Gotbletu. Pretty good channel for this kind of stuff. That's just two that come to mind. I'm sure the guys in the chat probably have some other suggestions for good YouTubers for this sort of content. Yeah, I guess OpenBox is a happy medium of mouse use with a little bit keyboard driven. Yeah, OpenBox, you can set key bindings to kind of tile around in, or if you want to just do it as your standard floating window manager where you drag windows, resize windows with the mouse, you can do that. OpenBox is very flexible. Let's see. Yeah, Manjaro i3 is bloated. Let's see. Luke Smith is your dad. I moved to a 4K monitor recently, and I've had to pretty much abandon Linux. Yeah, you know, I've had people tell me that you know, the 4K stuff just doesn't work well in Linux. I don't know. I don't have a 4K monitor, so never tested any of that sort of thing out. Yep. I need to take a look at BSPWM. That will, once I get through these 12, which I'm almost done after today, I got to take a look at Ice Window Manager, which should be pretty straightforward. Then I'm going to get to all the other window managers you guys have been asking me about. BSPWM, for sure I'll take a look at. DWM, for sure I'll take a look at. We'll see what else after those two. Let's see. Yeah, I prefer configuring the i3 config file from scratch. Yeah, so it won't confuse me. Well, you can do that. But honestly, things in this config file, at least in the Manjaro config file here, are set up so straightforward. I mean, you can take theirs and just edit it. I mean, it's pretty easy to edit this thing. I missed some of the chat. I lost my place here. It kind of skipped on me. Pale Moon is a fork of Firefox. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like Pale Moon. I would rather just install Firefox. I'm not sure why they put Pale Moon on this Manjaro i3 edition. I think most people would rather not use Pale Moon. They would prefer some other browser other than Pale Moon. Yeah, are you using dmenu? Yeah, they have dmenu installed by default here in Manjaro i3. If you don't like using dmenu as a launcher, you can install something like Rofi, which is usually what I put on my systems. Yeah, you got some options for, you know, run program launchers. Hey DT, did you ever try to fix the screen tearing in i3? Did I have screen tearing in i3? I don't remember that. I remember I had screen tearing in Manjaro's KDE edition, and I never could get it completely solved. But, you know, a lot of people have problems with KDE, so it's really a KDE problem. Yeah, it does have a good community in here. Yeah. The Linux community as a whole is pretty good. It's a mixed bag. You find some bad apples, but for the most part, we're a nice group. Hey DT, you mentioned you were wiping Antergos for Arco. Why don't you just switch to mainline Arch Linux? I can. I've done Arch installs on the channel. But why? I mean, I know what Arch is about. Arco, I mean, I haven't checked out a lot of their custom stuff, but, you know, you want to see what they're doing with something like i3 or OpenBox, or, you know, I want to check out their vision for those particular window managers. Arch Linux, yeah, I can get through the install no problem, and then I install something like OpenBox or i3 or whatever, but it's going to be just OpenBox, how the devs intended, you know, not configured in any way, which is fine. At the end of the day, it's going to be, though, DT's OpenBox, you know. A lot of what I do on this channel, you know, I want to show you guys what Arco, for example, is doing with their desktops. You know, you guys have already seen what I'm going to turn OpenBox into, or Xmonad, or, you know, whatever. As far as, like, personally, why don't I just run Arch? I can run anything. I'm not much of a distro snob, though. I mean, Arco is essentially 100% Arch anyway. It's just a different kind of installer. Little quicker. Actually, no. Actually, the Arco installs that I would probably do, because I'm going to pull all their stuff down from GitHub. You know, I'm going to do, like, one of their window manager editions. I'm not going to do standard Arco with the 3 desktops already installed. What is it? XFCE, OpenBox, and i3. I probably wouldn't do that when I would, you know, do one of the ones where you actually have to do the command line install. So it's not a very quick install, the Arco install. Probably the Arch install is just about as quick, to be honest, if you know what you're doing. Yeah, Hobo Lord. I use Rofi instead of dmenu. Yeah, Rofi's great. Dmenu's not bad either. I mean, they're both. Yeah, who did my logo? Oh, are you talking about the overlay that you guys are seeing in the stream here on OBS? That was done by me in GIMP. Very simple stuff, though. I mean, I'm not really an artist. I can do some simple stuff in GIMP, but by no means am I some kind of designer, no graphical designer. Let's see, what is the best status bar you're using? Polybar? I don't know. I guess it depends on what window manager you use. A lot of people like Polybar. You guys know when I do OpenBox, I do Tent 2. In Xmonad, I always use Xmobar. Qtile comes with its own title bar. So does i3, I believe. Awesome Window Manager has its own title bar. Of course, you don't have to use those title bars that are installed by default on any of those window managers. You can use something like Polybar or whatever. But they all display the same information. I mean, which one's better? I mean, they tell you what desktop you're on, what window's open, you know. Maybe you have a clock on it. I mean, it's not like really one's better than the other, I guess. And again, that's my opinion. I don't get into, you know, those kinds of things, you know. As long as I have some kind of panel or bar on the screen, I'm cool. Alright, so I could sit here and try to catch up on this chat all day, and I don't think I will. So let me get back into the VM here. So, still have the config file open here for Qtile. Let me switch to a different desktop. Mod 2 gets me to workspace 2. Mod 3 gets me to workspace 3. Back to 2, back to 1. So we see how that works. How do you kill a focus window? I've already discussed mod shift Q, and here is that line in the config. Mod shift Q. It runs this command. Kill. Basically, it kills the window with focus. This would be the same as in a terminal or at a shell prompt, you know, kill, name of process. Alright, start program launcher. Mod D, so that executes dmenu. And looking through some of the rest, sound section, we're not doing anything with sound in this VM, so, but for those that want to play around with that stuff, there it is. Startup applications. Now this is very important. What applications do you want to start by default? Well, well, actually, this is not start up. This just says start. So these are our key bindings. We've already discussed how to launch Firefox, PCMan FM as sudo, and then most of the other stuff is similar. You just figure out what programs you want to set key bindings to, the stuff you use on a daily basis. For example, like, maybe I use my text editor a lot, like Genie. I could set up a key binding for Genie. Matter of fact, why don't we do that? Why don't I just take this line right here? I'm going to copy it. Copy and paste. Let screen key get out of the way here. Did I not paste that line? I can't. Yeah, there it is. All right, so I'm going to change this. Instead of mod F3 opens PCMan FM, how about mod plus G? G for Genie. And then Genie. And so you guys see that? Mod G now executes Genie. I'm going to save this config. I've got to restart i3 for this to take effect, so Super Shift R to restart i3. Now, mod G opens up Genie. See, we got a second instance of Genie. Mod Shift Q to close. And I actually would probably keep that key binding because, again, I use my text editors a lot, so that's something useful to add. Alright, change focus. Now this is interesting here. I really don't like this, actually. To change focus, at least in Manjaro i3, JKL semicolon. So they're kind of using the Vim keys, but shift over. I like using HJKL, but they're using one key over, JKL semicolon. That's going to be kind of confusing for me because in all the other tiling window managers I use HJKL. So for my use case I would change that, but for you guys that's fine. Whatever. But let me show you exactly what's going on here. Let's switch to a different workspace. Let's open some windows. So mod enter. Or sorry, let's open some terminals. So we have terminal 1. Let's open up another terminal. Terminal 2. Let's open up a third. Terminal 3. Now, mod and then J. You see how the focus, I know there's no border around the window, but you guys can see the blinking cursor. Mod J gets me all the way to the left-hand side. K starts moving me. Actually, K doesn't move me anywhere. See, this is confusing because they're using J, K, L, semicolon. Semicolon, of course, got me all the way back over here. See, this is why it would be confusing for me, because now I'm so used to not even looking at the keyboard and always having my hand on H, J, K, L. Now everything is like one key over. That's weird. So I'm going to leave these windows open. I'm going to go back to workspace 1. And let's see what some of the key bindings to play around with the windows are. Actually, you know what? I can look at the conky. Let's move to an empty workspace. Workspace 3. Let's see. Okay, well this is interesting. How do we move a window to different workspaces? I'm going to go back to workspace 1. Genie is on workspace 1. Say I want Genie on workspace 3. Super Shift 3 puts Genie on workspace 3. It also takes us to workspace 3. So we're on workspace 3 and Genie is here now. Say I want to put Genie back on workspace 1, but I don't want to go to workspace 1 with Genie. I just want to send Genie to workspace 1. Super Control 1. Genie is on workspace 1, but we're still on workspace 3. Does that make sense? If I go back to workspace 1, there's Genie. Might have been a little confusing there. So, back to the chat for a second. Make sure you turn off the backend xrender in the Compton file. Yeah, I'm sure they're using Compton for a compositor here in Manjaro i3. That tends to be the compositor everybody uses for these minimal window managers. Yeah, these window managers are a good idea, but I would find them too much. Actually, i3, again, I've never really delved into it, deeply, but just what I'm already getting into, it's pretty straightforward. I don't think you'd have a problem getting into i3 Awesome Window Manager, which I also reviewed earlier in this project. Pretty straightforward out of the box. It's kind of set up. Qtile, you guys know I've been promoting a lot of Qtile. It's not that bad, honestly, out of the box either. It's pretty straightforward and easy to config. These things, for the most part, are not that scary. For the most part. Now, Xmonad, you guys saw me do a little bit with Xmonad. Xmonad's tough. I wouldn't pick that as your first tiler. I would pick anything else other than Xmonad as your first tiling window manager, but Xmonad is fantastic when you get into it. Let's see. Hey DT, this looks a bit obscure, yeah. Yeah, he does use Vim. I can get around in Vim a little bit. Mod V to make it vertical. We're going to get into that in just a second. I actually haven't found that part of the config yet. It's the reason I haven't mentioned it. Let's see, just got here. Looks like I will need a beer for this one. You know what? That's funny you mention it, because I had one sitting here the whole time and I haven't even bothered to take a drink. Today it's Modelo Especial. Alright. Does Genie take the code? Well, what do you mean? Not sure what you were asking there. Like when I sent Genie to a different desktop or workspace, yeah, it just sends this window I'm looking at. It just takes, Genie with the config file open, it just moves it to a different workspace. Is all it does. If you want to open up a second instance of Genie, a blank instance of Genie, you need to launch another version of, or another instance of Genie. You can do that with D menu. So type Super D to get your D menu up and type Genie, hit enter, and you can get another instance of Genie up. Or I already set that key binding. You remember I added, Super G? That also gets me another instance of Genie. Super Shift Q to close. Alright, now I'm going to go back to Workspace 2 because I have these terminals up. Somebody mentioned, by default, it's, putting them in this vertical layout. But, I've already kind of run out of real estate, doing vertical columns. The next, if I wanted to open a fourth window, I really would want to do it, split this horizontally in some way. So Super H, tile horizontally. You see this notification here. Now when I Super Enter, you see how it split this window horizontally. If I Super V, now it says tile vertically. Now Super Enter to open another terminal. Well, that didn't work as I expected. Let's quit these. Let's start again. Screen key go away. Alright, so let's open up two terminals. Now to split vertically, Super V. Now Super Enter. There we go. You see how that worked? And if I hit Super Enter again, we just keep going vertically, right? Now if I Super H to tile horizontally, now Super Enter, you see we're tiling horizontally again. Forever. What this is called, the terminology most people refer to this as a manual tiling window manager, where instead of having these predefined layouts, like the tiling window managers I'm used to using, things like Xmonad, Qtile, Awesome, they have these predefined layouts where, like the standard Xmonad layout, you open a terminal and it takes up the whole screen, but then the second one takes up half the screen, and then from there on out, it takes this right-hand column and just starts splitting it vertically. That's your standard like Xmonad layout. i3 is a manual tiler. There is no predefined layout. You create whatever layout on the fly by, doing things like tile vertically and then open your program, tile horizontally, then open your program. So you can kind of move things around. Of course, you can resize windows too. Let's see. Back to the chat. Did I not mark my spot where I was reading the chat? Yeah, I don't think I did. Let's see. Yeah, Genie is an IDE and also a text editor. Yeah. And pretty much any text editor can be an IDE. I mean, even like gedit and GNOME, I mean, it works fine as an IDE. Matter of fact, gedit has some pretty nice plugins you could put into it. Of course, you could use something like Vim for you hardcore programmers. Yep. So drink beer then vodka. Not with i3. No vodka with i3. It's not going to go over real well. Let's see. We Germans can send you some real nice beer. Actually, my favorite beers are from Germany. Love a lot of the German beers. I love, what is it? Weihenstephan. Love that beer. Other good German beers. Is it Flensburger? It's another good one I get sometimes here at one of my local stores. The Germans really make the best beer. You know what? The English do a pretty good job too. We've even had some really good French beers. American beer, Mexican beer is not bad. Let's see. Did I set up a P.O. box? No, I haven't. Is it still being considered? I'll be honest, I haven't thought about it since the last time somebody mentioned it. Nobody else has mentioned it, and I forgot all about it. So it might be something, yeah, that I would consider. I need to make a note of that, actually, so I don't forget it. Got so many things on my plate, just, you know, with work and life commitments, and then, you know, I try to spend as much time as I can on this channel. This has really become like a second job, though. I put in a lot of time for this stuff. Let's see, put some gaps so we can see it better. There are gaps. I'm not sure. There's like a 10 pixel gap between these windows. I mean, you see the space between these things? I mean, how big do you want the gaps? You want like a 50 pixel gap? I mean, I'm kind of cringing at it right now. I mean, that's just too much space around these. Matter of fact, we're going to edit that config file in just a second. I'm going to make those gaps smaller. Yeah, we're going to, mod shift spacebar. We're going to try out the floating mode. We're going to do all of that. Yeah, Weihenstephan, one of the best. Yeah, love that beer. It's just fantastic. Corona. Yep, Corona's great. One of my go-tos. I like Corona. Yeah, the Belgian beers. Love Hugarden. I love Leffy. Stella Artois. It's okay. Great Belgian beer is Tremens. Comes in the big bottle, weird looking bottle. It's like $20 or whatever. Fantastic beer though. Yeah, someone here tried the Datis Palmas. Yeah, I don't even know what that is. In North Africa. I've never tried any African beers that I know of, actually. Any thoughts on using i3 Window Manager within XFCE or using KDE with tiling scripts? Nope. Never thought about that, although you can. But if you're going to bother doing a tiler, I mean, why do you need XFCE? Because you're not using their window manager? I mean, do you want to use the XFCE panel or the whisker menu? Probably not if you're doing tiling window manager anyway. There's just not really, for me anyway, I just don't see the need for any of the XFCE stuff if you're not using their window manager anyway. But some people like it. I mean, it's a way to go. I certainly wouldn't discourage you from checking it out. Yeah. I was zoomed out in order to chat. Dang it, YouTube. Yeah, try Windhoek Lager from Namibia. One of the best. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've had beers from all over the world, but I can't think of a single beer from Africa I've ever tried. Hey, DT, could you make a video about Libre Boot, please? Maybe. Alright. Let's get back into this. Alright, so I'm on Workspace 2. I still have all of these terminals open. Let me kill them. I'm going to go back to Workspace 1 with Super 1. Alright, and let's take a look at more of this config file. So we've discussed mod key plus H splits horizontally. Mod key plus V splits vertically. Mod Q split toggle. Mod F full screen toggle. Okay, let's try it. Mod F. You see how that got me full screen? There's no i3 panel at the bottom. Genie now takes up the whole screen. Mod F again gets me out of full screen. I wonder how that would work with two windows open. Let's open a terminal. Now Mod F. Okay, the window with focus goes full screen. Mod F again puts it back in its proper place in our tiling format. Very cool. Super Shift Q. Alright. Mod S gives us a stacking layout. Mod W gives us a tabbed layout. Now this is really cool. Let's open up, I don't know, 3 terminals. How about super, enter, 3 times. Mod S gives us a stacking layout. Now you see these 3 panels at the top? Let's see if the mouse works with them. It does. That takes me to terminal 1. Let me label it so we know. Term 1. If I click the second one, term 2. And the third one, term 3. Now, the mouse does work, so you guys were asking, does it have any mouse functionality? It does, but what you probably wouldn't want to do, probably the arrow keys would work. Yep. So super and the arrow keys. Or, of course, the Vim keys, HJKL, except in Manjaro i3 they're using JKL semicolon, so. Alright. So that is the stacking layout. Mod S gets us to stacking. Mod W gets us to what is called the windowed layout. And it's very similar, except instead of having those tabs, on top of the windows stacked on top of each other, now they're in this horizontal, tabbed layout. And again, the mouse works. We can switch between the terminals. Of course, you can still use your arrow keys. So super, arrow over, and back. Super and the Vim keys. So L, or no, semicolon. Got to remember what is up and down and left and right, because everything is shifted 1 key over from what I'm used to. And if I hit super W again, does it get us back into the normal layout? No. What gets us back to the normal tiling layout? Is it mod E? I'm not sure. Yep, mod E. So super E gets us back to your standard tiling sort of layout. Just an initial impression of i3. Again, coming at this kind of as a new user, very easy to use. This stuff is really not complicated at all. The config files, very easy to understand. And the functionality, at least out of the box, at least with Manjaro i3, you can get some work done here. I mean, there's nothing I'm really lacking. Like if I wanted to live in i3 as it sits in this VM for a week, I would have no problems, getting all the work done that I do on a daily basis done in i3. This would be no problem. And I really don't have to do a lot of hacking on it. I mean, obviously, the big thing is setting up all your key bindings for all the programs you use on a daily basis. I would want to have all those key binded. Like if you open something like your text editor, all the time, you need to have it key binded. Other programs you might use all the time, like of course, your web browser, your file manager, those things, they all need to be hotkeyed. What's the fancy terminal logo and the space settings called? Okay. And I don't believe I installed that. I think that was already installed on Manjaro's i3 edition, but this is called NeoFetch. It is a program called, let me delete here. Wait for that to go away. NeoFetch is the name of that program. In Arch, you would sudo pacman-s NeoFetch. I believe it is in the standard Arch repos. And it is. I don't need to install it. So NeoFetch. I'm not sure if it is in the Debian repos or not. It probably is in Debian unstable, the SID repos. I'm not sure if it's going to be in the stable repos. NeoFetch, though, has a GitHub page. You can build it from source. It's actually very easy to get installed on pretty much every distro. So NeoFetch gets you this information. It's some system information, your OS name, host, kernel, uptime, packages, what shell you're running, resolution, the window manager you're using, what theme, what icons you're using, what terminal you're using, what terminal font you're using, CPU, GPU, and memory. And it also includes this little ASCII art of your distro's logo. I'm in Manjaro, but you guys, whatever distro you're using, you would have a different little ASCII art picture here, of Arch or Gentoo or Ubuntu or whatever you happen to be using. All right, so share the config. This i3 config, it's just the default one in Manjaro i3, but I could put it on my GitLab page later. If you guys really want this default i3 config from Manjaro, it's, again, I haven't played with it really, so there's nothing special to it. Yeah, somebody mentioned it's NeoFetch and don't use ScreenFetch. Yeah, ScreenFetch is a similar program. I'm not sure, what the difference is, but everybody seems to be using NeoFetch now. Let's see. Yeah, put the GitHub address before that. Oh, you're talking about Arch Rice? Never heard of that. Might have to check that out too. All right. I don't even know any shortcut on Windows. Yeah, you know what? You guys need to get more familiar with the keyboard. It'll make you more efficient. The less you have to travel from the keyboard to the mouse. Because let's face it, for most of what you do on your computer, you're going to have to do some typing. You're going to have to type in URLs in the browser, or type an email, or type a response in a chat window. Whatever you do on your computer probably involves some keyboard. Taking your hands off the keyboard to get to the mouse, back to the keyboard. It's kind of wasted effort. It's also kind of hard on your wrist and everything, especially the mouse. If your hand is on that mouse all day in this weird, crunched up position, don't be surprised if you start having some issues, some carpal tunnel, some wrist issues. Yeah, NeoFetch is in the Debian 9 repo. Okay, that's very cool. I wasn't for sure. I don't think I've ever installed NeoFetch in Debian stable. Really, this NeoFetch is not something I would normally run. I've shown you guys NeoFetch on the channel before because I know a lot of you guys think it's pretty neat, and it is neat, but it also slows down your terminal as far as the startup time, because it takes like a half a second for NeoFetch to launch because it has to pull down all that system information that it displays. So instead of your terminal just opening instantly, it takes like a fraction of a second longer for that terminal window to open. I don't like that. So I don't normally run NeoFetch. Yeah, Termite and Vimrock. Have I tried ZSH? Yeah, I've tried ZSH many times in the past. It's a fine shell. I have no problem with it. I normally, though, just roll with whatever the default shell is on these distros I review. Bash is usually the default shell. There's nothing wrong with Bash. So nothing wrong with ZSH. I have never tried Fish, but I bet Fish is great. Some of the other shells people are talking about a lot now. Conch or Zonch or whatever that is, XONSH, which is the shell that's written entirely in Python. I know a lot of people say good things about that. I tried to install it once about a month ago, and I couldn't get it to work. And I tried it on my Manjaro machine, my main production machine. I couldn't get that particular shell to work for me. I didn't spend that much time with it, though. Alright, let's see what else we can do here in i3. There's still a little bit of config to get through. We haven't done anything as far as toggle floating mode. Mod shift space. One of you guys were mentioning that in the chat. So mod shift space. So whatever window has the focus, so this third window here has the focus, because my mouse is over it. You also see the blinking cursor letting me know that that terminal has the focus. So mod shift space brings that window out of tiling mode and puts it in floating mode. Now I can hit the super key and then click on it with my mouse, and oops, my VM just switched monitors. Let me move that back. And this is the problem with this sort of stuff. Let me just... Okay, and I am back, guys. Sorry about that. Give me just a second. Before I killed the stream accidentally, I was about to tell you guys something. Hold on a second. My camera is not working correctly. Wow. The exposure is all crazy. Just a second, guys. Anyway. Well, I'm not sure what happened to the focus of the camera here. Let's switch to the desktop here. Let's open up VirtualBox. I was about to say before I hit the wrong hotkey, and I knew it was about to happen, is you guys that run tiling window managers, if you're also trying them in a VM, you have to be very careful, because you run the very real risk of thinking you're in the virtual machine, but you're actually in your host machine. So when I hit the Super Shift Q key combination, which kills a window in Manjaro i3, well, I have that particular key combination set to kill Qtile on my host machine. And you see my mouse cursor was out of the VM and on my host machine. So Super Shift Q killed the Qtile window manager, which of course killed OBS, killed the stream. So give me just a second. Let me pull up a web browser here. I want to make sure that the chat and everything is still working. Sorry, guys. But this is pretty normal for us here. Typical DT stream where something can go wrong, it will go wrong. Alright, I'm going to pull up my VM again. I still have no idea why this camera is not adjusting to the light or anything. Yeah, it's not auto-focusing at all. Yeah, it killed the lights. No, there's lights in this room, but it's weird that the camera is not adjusting. So I'm actually going to play around with the camera settings. My camera may freeze while I do that, but that's fine. I can restart the camera. Okay. I think that looks better. All right. Typical DT stream. Yep. Anyway. Sorry about that, but I'm kind of glad I did that because I've mentioned this a few times on the show. When I do these VMs, you do have to be careful. And you don't have to worry about this in your floating window managers, your stacking window managers, but the tiling window managers. Mod key. If you have the host machine mod key set to super, which I do, my host machine that runs Qtile, and you have the VM mod key also set to super, you have to be very, very careful. Are you in the host machine or are you in the VM? Because, I thought I was killing a window in the VM that I was running Manjaro i3, and instead I was killing Qtile on my host machine, which of course kills everything running on the desktop, including the stream. So, alright, do we want to get back into i3? I think so. Let me see if I can Super D. Actually, before we do that, let's get screen key back up and running, if I can. Well, is that not? I know it's installed. Let me just open a terminal. There we go. Alright. So, let's open up Genie. So, D menu for Super D for D menu, type Genie in my case. Of course, I had it hotkey to mod G. That would have also got me here. Let's get back to the i3 config. So go to the .i3 folder in your home folder. Go to config. And let's see if I can pick up where I left off. If I remember where we were traveling through the config file here. We were toggling floating Windows, you guys saw how that works. You're in tiling mode, Super Shift space toggles you to floating mode. I'm not going to try that again because that's how I ended up killing Windows in my host machine. There was some kind of conflict with that key binding. I really started moving like the whole VM around, and then I killed the VM. Then I killed Qtile. Let's see, do Windows spaces or workspaces. So your mod key 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 8, 1 through 8. So mod key 2, workspace 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then back to 1. Here's your workspaces. We discussed moving a window from, in this case, workspace 1. If I wanted to move Genie to workspace 2, but I don't want to go to workspace 2, Super Control 2. Genie is over on workspace 2. I'm still on workspace 1. If I go to workspace 2, you see Genie. If I want to put Genie on workspace 3, and I also want to go to workspace 3 with Genie, Super Shift 3, takes me to workspace 3, and Genie is also here with us. Back to 2, back to 1, back to 3 where Genie's at. Let's put it back on workspace 1 and go to workspace 1, Super Shift 1. And we're back on workspace 1 with Genie. Alright, and it discusses in the config exactly what I just did. Mod Control 1 through 8, Mod Shift 1 through 8. And then we have window classes. Basically, you can set, how certain classes of windows appear. Are they always in floating mode? Are they always on workspace 7? You can do all of that stuff in i3. And you can do all of that stuff pretty much in any window manager, tiling window manager, and that's what makes these things so powerful. It's because you can have all these workspaces, but also you never have to worry about, where is my web browser? Well, if you know your web browser always goes on workspace 2, you know exactly where Firefox, if it's open on your machine, is. You just Super 2, go to workspace 2, and you know Firefox. If it's open, that's where it's at. If it's not there, then whatever key binding for Firefox, you hit that, you know it's going to open on workspace 2. Even if you're not on workspace 2, it's going to put Firefox on workspace 2 if that's how you had your config files set up. So, really cool stuff. I'm not going to play around with that kind of stuff here in the config. Manjaro i3 has i3 lock. i3 lock is our lock screen. So if I Super D for D menu, I'm going to run the program called i3 lock. And that did not do anything. Why not? Okay, there it goes. I had to hit enter twice. This is our lock screen. How do I get out of the lock screen? Well, you need to type your password. There you go. And you can configure the colors. It doesn't have to be that plain white screen. I'm sure the i3 lock program allows some customization, because honestly that white screen is kind of bright. I would probably put it something to match my desktop color. For example, this kind of weird, it's not quite solarized, but this grayish blue color, that's probably what I would make my i3 lock background. If I was really going to theme this and I wanted it, to look kind of sharp. So I could post it on something like r/Unix porn, for those guys that, just love i3 screenshots. Those guys love anything Arch and anything i3. And anything Japanese anime. If you guys are on Reddit, you really should check out Unix porn. It is a great subreddit for screenshots. If you want some inspiration on, what you can do with things like i3 and OpenBox and these sorts of window managers, you really should check that subreddit out. All right. Now this is what we were looking for. Of course, theme colors. We have all of these colors here. This is for the panel. I'm not going to play around with that, but I could if I wanted, instead of this dark blue-gray, if I wanted to change this maybe to pure black, then I could change like some of these, from this color to 00000 6 times. We change it to black. But I'm not going to change that. But anyway, we can make this panel and some of the stuff in the panel, whatever color we want. You guys can play with that to your heart's content. Of course, we have our gaps. Set the inner and outer gaps. The inner gaps are set to 10 pixels. That is a lot of space between these. You know what? Some of you guys said that it wasn't enough space. You know, just for giggles, let's make it 50 pixels. Save the config file, restart i3, Super Shift R. There you go. Are those gaps big enough? Let me know in the chat. Alright, I'm sure a lot of the chat had a lot to say about me accidentally killing my host machine. Let's see, back to normal. Good job. After this stream, I'm going to sleep for 3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours is not enough sleep. You need at least 6. It's 4:27 a.m. now. Well, good morning. Yeah, Anthony in the chat says, I'm actually trying to set up i3 gaps for the first time. Went to find help, and bam, your stream pops up. What are the odds? That's the way it works. Yeah. You think about something, and, you know, it's like, it just happens for you. It's destiny. It's fate. Yeah, change the mod key in your window manager to Alt. Yeah, and I've mentioned this before. In your VMs, if you use Super as your mod key on your host machine in the VM, you should change the VM mod key to Alt. That way, you never have happen what happened to me. You never accidentally close something on your host machine because the mod keys are different. So, the Alt key does nothing on my host machine, right? Because the mod key is Super, not Alt. Yeah, Mr. F says, LOL. I'm glad you found that amusing, Mr. F. Yeah, so i3 is the last window manager in the obscure window manager project. Well, one more. We got ICE window manager to look at. But yeah, so we originally set out to do 12 window managers. This is number 11. ICE window manager I'll probably get to, you know, in a week or two. And then after that, we'll decide a new group of window managers to take a look at, maybe. A smaller group, though. It won't be another 12, because honestly, I can't think of another dozen window managers that I really want to look at and that you guys would be interested in. I can think of 4 or 5 that would be interesting to do, but probably not another 12. I've missed a lot of the chat here because it skipped forward a bit. Let's see. Antergos or Manjaro? Somebody asked. Manjaro all day long. The Antergos installer sucks. I don't like it. It's broken. It's buggy. Honestly, you'd be better off installing mainline Arch rather than Antergos, in my opinion. Yeah, set the inner to 15 and the outer to 15. For the gaps, we might do that in just a second. Debian Sid, says Mr. F. Sid is awesome. Yeah, you could fit a bus in that gap. Yeah, but you know what? This is the kind of thing you would see on r/Unix porn. I mean, they love to put these big gaps in their screenshots, but this is completely useless. Nobody would actually make this part of their workflow. I mean, that is just way too much wasted space. Undefined says thick. Donkey says that's a huge gap. Yeah, maximum accepted gap size, 0 pixels. Yeah, you could have a cocky that was 50 pixels wide that showed up in that gap. Yeah, Undefined mentions DWM, BSPWM, 2BWM, and Rat Poison. Yeah, I would probably do all those but Rat Poison. I don't know. I might look at Rat Poison too. Yeah, can't wait for Solus and their Bungie QT. You probably mean Budgie QT. Yeah, Rhythmbox works with player CTL or Sway WL routes. Some people prefer having gaps. Nothing wrong about that. Stop cringing. And then, of course, we got Daniel mentioning Vegemite. I forgot to order my Vegemite last night. I'm going to have to do that today. I'm glad you reminded me, Daniel, because I'm supposed to have Vegemite. I'm supposed to eat it on camera next Saturday night on the Big Daddy podcast. I'm not going to be able to do that unless I order some Vegemite. Yeah, my only issue with Xmonad is that it is list-based and not tree-based. Really? Because my issue with i3 and with Herbst Luft, I believe it was the same way, is they're not list-based. You know, I'm much more used to that that style of window manager. But hey, use what works for you. Different strokes for different folks. Well, what was your homework from Biddle last night? So we're all supposed to try out KDE Neon, which I downloaded the ISO for KDE Neon. As a matter of fact, you guys were asking what's going on now that I'm about to wipe out Antergos. I'm probably going to install KDE Neon on this laptop that's powered up behind me. I'm probably going to do that after this stream. I'll go ahead and wipe out Antergos. We're supposed to take a look at KDE Neon for the next week, and we're all supposed to eat either Marmite or Vegemite. So I'm doing Vegemite. Yeah, Kroger did not have any Vegemite. You should see if they would order it for you. Ricky Gamer. Hey, Derek. Nice to see you again. Yeah. I think it depends on people's preference. You talking about Marmite or Vegemite or Manjaro or Antergos? So much going on in the chat here. But you know what? I think we've pretty much covered most everything with i3 as far as, you know, an initial look. I mean, I could hack on it all day, but, you know, you guys have kind of seen what i3 is all about. I'm going to change the inner gaps to 15, the outer gaps to 15, as suggested in the chat. Save that config file, restart i3. So Super Shift R restarts. And now, yeah, these gaps are not as hideous, but still not good. How about 0 and 0? Save. Let me save this. Restart. Oh yeah, that looks a lot better. Oh yeah. See, I can handle this. See, no more hideous looking gaps and wasted space. Alright. I'm going to actually go back to the default before we messed everything up. At least the default as Manjaro i3 had it. Of course, I need to restart this machine for it to take effect. Alright. Smart gaps. Gaps used if only more than one container is on the workspace and it's turned on. So if this is not turned on, you will always have a gap around the window, even if it's one window. But if it's just one window and Smart Gaps is turned on, there's no gap, which is very important. I mean, you wouldn't want a single window, say your web browser on screen, and it to have, you know, a 15 pixel gap around it. No, you want that thing taking up the whole screen. We have smart gaps. We also have smart borders. That's also turned on. And we are at the end of the config. So, I mean, we kind of took a look at most of the config. I mean, I skipped over a few things, but what do you guys think? Especially you guys that don't normally play around with these kinds of window managers. Is that a hard config? I mean, do you think you could hack on it a little bit and set it up to your liking? Oh, that's not. Why is this not? Okay. Gotta be careful. I still got the super key as the mod key. Gotta make sure I'm still in the VM. I'm gonna go back to the chat. That's pretty much all I'm gonna do with i3 today. So, been on i3 for about an hour and 10 minutes, but I'm gonna hang out with you guys. We'll continue to chat. I actually need to finish this warm beer that's been sitting here for an hour and 15 minutes now. So. Yeah, 0 gaps is default and the only option in i3, yeah. And that's why I mentioned I probably wouldn't install i3 gaps for me personally, because I don't think I would use the gaps, to be honest. But I get, the gaps maybe look a little better. You guys worried about, how your desktop looks. Yeah. Yeah, what is Qt preferable to GTK? Why is it? Well, I mean, that's opinion there. So, I won't get into that. I'm not a developer. I don't really use the Qt toolkits or the GTK toolkit. But Qt seems to be where everybody's going these days. Of course, that's where Solus is moving to. Somebody mentioned that the Solus budgie guys are switching from GTK to Qt. At least that was their plan. I don't know if that's still the plan. Let's see. Tagfrone says, today the team of Manjaro just released the 18.0 Beta 3 of Manjaro. I'm wondering if you can take a look. 18.0 Beta 3 of Manjaro, is it just a beta of what Manjaro? Is there multiple editions of that beta as far as desktops? Or is it just like their standard XFCE, their flagship edition? But yeah, I've got no problems taking a look at Manjaro. As far as on the channel, you know, I do a lot of stuff with Manjaro. Some of you guys are probably tired of seeing Manjaro. Actually, Arch distros in general. I know some of you guys are like, oh, another Arch-based distro. I've reviewed like 100 Arch-based distros on this channel. Yeah, do you have to eat the Vegemite while listening to Men at Work? I was going to. You know, Men at Work, they had a couple of really big hits back in the 80s. Men at Work, that was a solid group right there. Of course, you have the Land Down Under song, which mentioned Vegemite. But you also had that, Who Can It Be Now? Great song, you know. Let's see, Manjaro is evil. In my humble opinion, having its own repos is just icky. I'm not sure why that is icky. I mean, a lot of distros want their own repos, or at least having some extra repos, not just using the parent distro's repos. Antergos has its own, yeah, that's what most distros, unless it's like a real mom and pop distro, a garage distro as I like to call them, most distros are going to have their own repos, at least some of their own repos. I mean, think of all the Debian-based distros out there. They're not just using Debian's repos. They have, some of their own repos for, some of their own packages. Same thing with all the Arch-based distros. They're not just going to use the Arch repos. They're going to, have their own Antergos repo and Manjaro repos too. So, yeah, Antergos is bloody slow in updating packages. Yes. Yeah, there is a reason. I mean, Manjaro and Antergos, there used to be like this debate, people, what's better as far as an easy-to-use Arch-based distro to get people, onto Arch. That debate, in my opinion, is over. Manjaro is so much a better distro, really, than Antergos. There's a reason Manjaro has become very popular and is #1 on DistroWatch's page hit rankings for whatever that's worth. It's not worth much, but there's a reason Manjaro is looked on favorably for the most part, and Antergos, a lot of people have issues with it, including myself. I have not had good luck installing it on VMs for the channel. I've not had good luck installing it on physical hardware. I have to eat Marmite while installing KDE Neon on the lowest end PC he can run Plasma on until the installation finishes. Yeah, that was the challenge for the Big Daddy show. And you guys, if you're not subscribed to Big Daddy Linux, you should check out Big Daddy. He does a live podcast every Saturday night, 10:30 Eastern Time, 9:30 Central Time. And I join those guys every Saturday night. Yeah, drink the beer. You look thirsty. The chat on the screen is frozen, by the way. Alright. Let's see if I can fix that. Let's see. Did that? I'm not sure if that fixed anything or not. Why is this arrow on the screen, too? I've actually never seen that before. Alright, I think that fixed it. Yeah, that's weird. Alright, sorry guys, I skipped ahead a lot in the chat because I was fooling around with this, and then the chat window I was following skipped ahead, so I missed a lot of what was going on. Because now I'm way ahead from where I was before. A lot of people, though, talking about Vegemite, Marmite, how awful it is. I saw Toss in the chat. He mentioned something about Vegemite. He's debating No, you gotta do Vegemite with us. We're gonna do Vegemite on Toss's stream. We'll do Marmite over on Big Daddy's stream. Yeah, what is Vegemite anyway? Says Donkey. Total OS today. He says ask DT. Vegemite is a yeast byproduct, a yeast extract. Other than that, as far as the taste and consistency or whatever, I don't know. I'm gonna order some later this evening. I'll try to do 2-day shipping because I want to practice eating the Vegemite before I do it live on Big Daddy or on Toss, because I want to know if I'm going to gag or, vomit, or if it's something that foul. I don't want to do it live on camera first. I want to do it on my own time. Sleepy Mario, anyone here uses Gentoo? I'm sure there's a few people here that use Gentoo. We've got a pretty diverse crowd as far as what Linux distros this group uses. Let's see, Manjaro XFCE was my first rolling distro. Yeah, Manjaro XFCE is really solid. Mr. F's gag. Some people say Gentoo are so slow when compiling the kernel. You only have to compile that kernel, during the install that one time. But yeah, when I did my Gentoo install on the channel, it took me 1 hour and 15 minutes to compile the kernel. Yeah, but it's not like you're gonna do that every day. Yeah, put the Vegemite on toast and spread it thin. I'm going to spread it very thin. Yeah, the chat seems stopped. Yeah, I think I've got it fixed now, or is it still stopped? Yeah, it's working now. I'm not sure what killed the chat, to be honest. I've never seen that happen before. But then again, we had some issues with me killing the stream prematurely. So. Yeah, he just smiled and gave me a Vegemite sandwich. Yeah. Yeah, what do we all use? It depends on the week. That's true. You guys know I've pretty much made myself stick to Manjaro on my main production machine because I got tired of hopping on the production machine. It was causing me problems. The constant hopping. I was losing time, making videos. I was missing out on work. I could be doing productive things, or I could be constantly backing up and restoring and installing new stuff on my main production machine. Now I have at least these 2 laptops to hop on. Of course, I do a lot of stuff in VMs. So I won't be wiping out my main production machine like I was doing there for a couple of months, where every week I was on something new. Although I am getting the itch to make the hop. I've been in Manjaro now for, a month or 2. It might be time for me to move on to something else. Think about doing Debian Unstable, doing Debian SID for a while, living in the Debian world. Love Arch. But you know what? I'm going to go back to my Debian roots. Maybe do Seduction. Really like that distro. Yeah, Donkey says, I'm kind of confused. Gentoo or Funtoo? Funtoo is a Gentoo fork. Matter of fact, I think one of the original Gentoo devs started Funtoo. I've never used Funtoo, though. Yeah, what should I choose for testing purposes? If you've never installed Gentoo, I'd probably stick with that before getting into, forks of Gentoo. Let's see. Yeah, not Debian. Go Arch. Yeah. Well, like I said, I've been running basically this Arch-based distro on my main production machine, really for almost 6 months. So, because I lived in Manjaro for 3 months, then moved away and hopped a lot for 2 months, then come back to Manjaro, and I've been on Manjaro again for 2 months or so. So, I know Manjaro, I know Arch. As a matter of fact, one of the things I hopped to in between instances of Manjaro, I lived in mainline Arch for a week or 2 on this main production machine. Yeah, Jonathan says he loves Seduction. Yeah. Even Debian testing is old. And Mr. F is asking about pen testing. Mr. F is a big fan of Parrot OS, Parrot Security. He loves that pen testing distro. I'm not a pen tester. Yeah, you tried Calculate once? Man, that update process was slow. Yeah, all the Gentoo-based distros, updating the systems are slow. Painfully slow, sometimes. You got to be careful with those. I've got VMs of Calculate. I've got VMs of Sabian. I always try Red Core every time it comes out with a new release. And updating those Gen 2 based distros can be slow. It can take hours sometimes. Yeah, Slackware is still on the to-do list. What I would really love is for a new version of Slackware to come out. That would be great for me to review instead of reviewing, the version of Slackware that's been out forever now. But I mean, who knows when the next version of Slackware is going to be released? Do they even have set release dates? I don't think they do. Yeah, I have 50 plus packages in my machine, and I don't think I can put back together in a distro hop. Yeah, you can get it all. Yeah. If you have good backups, you can be back up and running. What you should do is create a script of all the programs that you have installed. The ones that are really critical to you. Create some kind of bash script or something, so that all you have to do when you install your next distro is run that script, and it'll just pull down all the packages you need. It's not something I do, but a lot of people do that. Yeah, OpenSUSE Tumbleweed is very solid, very fast, pretty stable too. I'm not against trying Tumbleweed. That might be a way to go too. But again, I was really kind of looking forward to giving Seduction a try on my main production machine on physical hardware. But we might give Tumbleweed a try too. Yeah, can you give your conclusion on i3 and your opinion on how it compares to Qtile, Xmonad, other tiling window managers? Would you consider living in i3? I would have no problem living in i3. As far as how it compares to Qtile and Xmonad and Awesome and Herbstluft, which are the 5 tiling window managers that I did as part of this series. As far as out of the box, ease of use, i3 is right up there. Awesome out of the box is very easy to use. I mean, it's very well set up. i3, very easy to use. i3 is probably the easiest to config. That config file, the way it's laid out, it's very easy to read. Even somebody with absolutely no programming experience should be able to configure i3. Where Awesome, the config is written in Lua, and it's kind of funny. Xmonad is a beast to configure because it's written entirely in Haskell. Nobody knows the Haskell programming language. Qtile is pretty easy. It's Python, and that config file for Qtile is pretty easy to read, straightforward. Herbstluft. Actually, Herbstluft was pretty easy to configure, too. I didn't spend that much time with it. I could live in any of them, though. Of the 5 tiling window managers that I reviewed, Awesome, Qtile, Xmonad, Herbstluft, and i3, I could live in any of them. Because essentially they function, for the most part, the same way. The difference is it's how they handle multi-monitors and workspaces on those monitors. There's a little difference on those. And again, there's a difference between the tree-based and list-based layouts, what some people call dynamic tiling and manual tiling, where i3 is kind of a manual tiler where you can split things vertically and horizontally as you go. It's all set up on the fly. It's up to you how you want your windows laid out, where a dynamic tiler, or whatever terminology you want to use, something like Xmonad, has these pre-configured layouts. Yeah, OpenSUSE used to be one of my go-tos, but it's kind of like an identity crisis. Yeah, night, gotta go sleep. Bye from the Netherlands. Good to see you, Andrew. I won't be on much longer. I'm actually going to kill the stream probably in about 5 minutes. We've been going about an hour and a half. But this was fun. I'm really glad I got to take a look at i3, or i3 gaps in particular. You guys, when I announced this project and told you guys I was going to take a look at these 12 window managers, I mean, I did the first one like 4 or 5 months back. So it's taken me a while to get to i3, which was 11th on the list. And you guys really wanted me to do this one first. The problem was, for my sake, I really wanted to do them as they appeared in the LightDM login manager. I did them as they appear in the drop-down. And it just so happens i3 was next to last in that login. So ICE Window Manager was last, so that'll be the last one I take a look at. But this was months in the making. You guys have really been patiently waiting on this, but I hope you guys enjoyed, all the other ones I got to do. FVWM and Fluxbox and, Herbstluft. Yeah, everybody's saying bye to Andrew. Yeah, time for dinner, says Django. Yep, I need to cook something as well. It's probably what I'll do when I get off. Might make a pot of chili. Have I tried React OS? I have not. I need to take a look at it on the channel one day, though. But I've tried React in the past, but it's been a while. That project's been around for years, still in alpha. Yeah, based on your window manager experience, do some window managers feel lighter and faster based on their underlying language that they are built on? Yes. For example, I love Qtile. Qtile is written in Python. Actually, Qtile is very fast. A lot of people say Python is slow, but is there a difference? Yes. When I run Qtile and I switch over to Xmonad, which is written in Haskell, it's hard to quantify it, but man, Xmonad is blazing, like just instant, like before you even touching the key, things open, So yes, the language they're built on affects them. Yeah, C is fast, Haskell is fast. Scripting languages are not fast. Yeah, Hex is, must say it's impressive how fast the channel grows. Yeah, it's crazy how this took off. I've been doing this about 8 months now. Yeah, 7 or 8 months. And yeah, 10K subs. Yeah, probably by the end of July. Yeah, we're getting about 2K subs every month now. At least we have the last couple of months. So yeah, let's smash the thumbs up. Heck yeah. Be sure to like, and if you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. If you like this kind of content, it does help. Helps me rank better in the YouTube algorithms. Gets more eyes on the channel, more eyes on my content. Ultimately, more eyes, on Linux content. Hopefully, exposing more Windows and Mac users to Linux. And I know a lot of you guys, even a lot of you guys in the chat, some of you are using Windows. A lot of you are just curious about Linux. You're not sure if you want to make the hop over. Come on in. The water's fine. So, and you don't have to do this extreme nerdy stuff like i3 or what that I do on the channel sometimes. Although if you want to give it a try, go ahead. But start with something easy. Everybody always asks me, what's a good first distro? Ubuntu's LTS is usually a good way to go. It's stable, it just works, and it has a gigantic community behind it. So if you want something that's not Ubuntu, Mint, Elementary. If you want something that's not Ubuntu based at all, OpenSUSE Leap is a good place to be. Alright, i3 has one of the best documentations ever. You know what, I didn't even pull up their website, did I? I had their website actually open on a browser over here. We never even really went through their website, but yeah, you're right. I did take a look at it very briefly. i3 has a fantastic website, good documentation. Alright guys, well I'm going to go ahead and kill the stream. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me. Yeah, Jonathan mentions he's used Mac for years, but once I went Linux, I never looked back. Very good, sir. Yeah, MX is a good starter. Good point. Yeah, if you can do Linux, anyone can. Yeah, if I can do Linux, anyone can, says Daniel. I would agree. Yeah, let's get the Patreon list so long it takes DT 5 minutes to read. It's almost there. Pretty soon I'm not going to be able to just read the names. I'm just going to have to just show them on screen, or I might have to scroll them. It's a great problem to have, though. I really appreciate all you guys that are subscribed to me, by the way. It really helps. I've spent quite a bit of money on equipment for this channel. I mean, basically, that laptop that I spent, about $165 all told to buy the other day, my new ThinkPad. I mean, I couldn't afford that if I wasn't making a little money through Patreon. Same thing with the Blue Yeti mic that I had to buy that cost me $150. The mic stand cost me $100. Various, the $100 webcam I'm using. I probably spent like $1,000 on equipment since starting this channel, so every little bit helps. I won't complain about it too much. It's been a great learning experience, especially learning a lot of this multimedia stuff that I was never exposed to. Until starting a YouTube channel, I would have never played with things like OBS, Kdenlive, Audacity. So, I mean, I know you guys, I hope you guys are learning something on the channel. It's a learning experience for me, too. I mean, it really is. Teaches me a lot. All right. Yeah, Poison, another top-notch stream. Smash that up, but thank you guys. Appreciate you guys. And let me go ahead and do my outro. I do want to thank you guys hanging out in the chat, though. As always, still here in the chat, we have Eris and Daniel, Gibran, Hobo Lord, Jonathan, Koyo, Matthias, Poison, Mr. F, Rookie Silent, Cotex, Sleepy Mario, Stupid End User, Undefined, and Tagfern. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Of course, a special thanks to my patrons. Let's see if we can get the list. David, Carlos, Nick, Daniel, Brian, Leor, AK, Ryan, Keith, Dan, Michael, Tony, Bruno, David, Mike, Silvio, Omar, Mark, Mr. Neely Pops, John, Carl, Greg, Rob, Matt, Christian, Tiedemann, Stephen Z, Eduardo, Alex, Jake, Benjamin, Stephen B, Marcus, Interceptor, Tubella, Humade, Paul, Chuck, Ben, John, and Paul. You guys rock. You guys help make this show possible. Peace, guys.